Welcome to the third video in the series, The Character of the Communist Mode of Production According to Marx and Engels. Today we'll be going over my summary of the 1844 piece by Marx, Economic and Philosophic Manuscripts of 1844, Private Property and Communism. I've subtitled this, Communism Achieves Scientific Society, Ends Abstraction and Fetishism. In this text, Marx presents early conceptions of a transitional period before communism, the dictatorship of the proletariat in the pre-communist phase. He goes over the character of private property in relation to communism and the results of its abolition, both the process of societal transformation in the lower, crude phase of communism, and its complete negation into the higher phase. Private property is positively transcended, as it is abolished and we no longer need to structure society to expropriate it. Mankind becomes free from the dictatorship of the proletariat, as the proletariat abolishes itself through its own class interests. From this positive transcendence, human essence is appropriated by man and for man, with the true community of man being established. All contradictions become resolved: existence and essence, objectification and self-confirmation, freedom and necessity, individual and species. The riddle of history is thus solved, and consciously at that. With bourgeois right, which is a right of exclusion, being abolished, the true realm of freedom becomes open for mankind. Labor becomes life's prime want, as labor becomes sensuous passion, which becomes the basis for living and action. Wealth and poverty receive new human, social significance, as wealth, free time, and use values produces rich human beings and thereby needs, with high desires with a totality of manifestations of life and self-actualization, while poverty, labor being life's prime want, produces the desire for humans to experience the need of the greatest wealth under communism, other fully developed human beings, or true community. In communism, that is the true community of man, mankind returns to himself as a social being through self-consciousness and the embrace of all the wealth of historical development, making all held by all. In turn, a true humanism emerges as naturalism is fully developed, thus producing a scientific society which becomes unable to consider itself separate from nature or claim an alien being above man and nature. This in turn resolves the conflict between man and man and nature. This scientific society is populated by scientists, as alienation from society in the form of property, ideology born of property, and divisions of labor influencing the senses comes to an end. The full character of reality becomes clear to all humans, with the unique becoming clear as abstraction and fetishism is brought to an end. Thereby, all labor and nature becomes recognized for its true, unique character. In this scientific society, thought proceeds from the, quote, theoretically and practically sensuous consciousness of man and of nature as the essence, end quote. As such, atheism is in turn negated, as atheism is a negation of God. Socialism is positive self-consciousness, and a society which must no longer seek to abolish religion. We no longer have to concern ourselves with abolishing it. As such, atheism ceases, because theism also ceases. However, this requires a transitory period to achieve, and is not itself the end of human development. Communism is a position of the negation, which creates the basis for the next stage of historical development in the process of human emancipation and rehabilitation. Communism is not the end goal, and after it's achieved and all hitherto history is brought to an end through the abolition of classes, a new volume in human history can finally be opened with new driving factors. Until that negation of the negation is reached, the negatory condition is a transitional period, which is the dictatorship of the proletariat. This is still political in nature and can either be democratic or despotic, so long as it continues to abolish private property. Under this circumstance, the state is not fully abolished, as private property and thus alienation remains. However, in such a society, mankind is fully conscious of that alienation. This will lead mankind to abolish bourgeois right through the seeking of practical changes in industry, science, and relations of production, which will allow mankind to transcend bourgeois ideology that keeps them captivated by the idea of private property. It is at this point and with the end of all remnants of bourgeois society, that a new epoch of history begins with new forms of emancipation for humanity. And that is the summary of Marx's Economic and Philosophic Manuscripts of 1844, the section Private Property and Communism. And if you want to go over the quotation extracts and my reasoning for that summary, then feel free to go into the description below to share Google Doc containing this, and potentially consider joining the United Marxist Pact Discord server, which is in the link there. Tomorrow I will be going over my summary of the 1845 piece by Marx, A Critique of the German Ideology, Part 1. Thank you for joining me for today's topical summary, and I hope to see you tomorrow.